numbers. Now, similarly, we can do the same thing with the next one. So we factor the top out. We have 4 terms. Maybe I can do grouping. For this question, there is another way to do it. Notice that x plus 3x can be combined and as a trinomial, or you can just keep it as what this is and factor it as a grouping. For the first group, I can factor out x and x plus 1. Second group, I can factor out a positive 3. So just divide each of them by 3. And this is not the final factoring yet because we still have a plus. And we continue to factor out x plus 1. That will give us, when we pull x plus 1 out, that leaves us x plus 3. So this is the final factoring because it's multiplication. Similarly, we can factor the bottom out, 2x. So if we divide both of them by 2x, if you can do this in your mind, you don't have to put a 2x there. So that gives us x plus 3. And we factor the second group, common factor negative 5. So divide both of them by negative 5 by negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1, and there's an x, so positive 1x. Negative 15 divided by negative 15, that's positive 3. So pay attention to the division of sign numbers here. And again, this is not the final factoring yet because we still have a minus. But we can factor out another, pull out another x minus 3. And then we're left with 2x minus 5. Notice the top and the bottom both have a common factor, x plus 3, x plus 3. They don't have to line up. It's just, because we're pretty much doing division. And so you can divide the entire top by x plus 3. That will cancel x plus 3 out. So you cancel a common factor, x plus 3, and from both top and the bottom, we are left with x plus 1 in the numerator and 2x minus 5 in the denominator. And that's the final answer. And again, you cannot cancel this x and that x because it's plus. X is not a factor. X is a term. You cannot cancel terms from top and bottom, but you can cancel factors. Okay, now in the next case, when we look at the top, we immediately notice this is difference of 2 squares type. So we factored it as n plus 5 times n minus 5. In the bottom denominator, there's nothing to factor out. No GCF, no difference 2 squares, and not grouping, not trinomial. But if I keep it as 5 minus n, notice it's very close to n minus 5, but not exactly the same thing. When we say common factor, they have to match. They don't match. But we realize that n, negative n, they're opposite of each other. Negative 5 and positive 5, they're also opposite of each other. So maybe they're just opposite, so which means I can factor out a negative 1, so that will give me the same common factor. So I'm going to, instead of keeping it as 5 minus n, what I'm going to do is to factor 1, negative 1 out. So let's divide both of them by negative 1. And that will give me 5 divided by 1. 5 divided by negative 1, that's negative 5. Negative n divided by negative 1. Negative divided by negative gives us a positive n. And now, although it's written in different order, n minus 5 and negative 5 plus n, they're exactly the same thing because I can switch them to put it as positive n minus 5. So these two, they match. So maybe I can write one more step so you can see they match. So it will be negative 1 times, put an n first, n minus 5. And n minus 5 cancels n minus 5 because they are both factors. So we're left with n plus 5 divided by negative 1. And we can divide through. So n divided by negative 1 is negative n. 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5. So that's the final answer. All right, now in the final question, we can factor the top as, this is a trinomial. So we have x, you can do this on your scratch paper. I think it's x plus 3 times x minus 4. So I do it a little quick here. The bottom, so we can maybe work it out. 8 is 2 times 4. If we keep it in this order, that would be negative x times positive x. And the cross products, I realize I need to make this one positive, this one negative, because that will give me a positive 4x and negative 2x. And 4x minus 2x is 2x. So let me write down the factoring here. So when I write this down, I'm going to try to switch them. Instead of writing down as 2 plus x, I'm going to write it down as x plus 2. The reason I'm doing that is it's easier for me to find the common factors. And 4 minus x, I'm going to put it as negative x plus 4. Again, you will notice that, see, they are opposite of each other. So we can do a similar process we did here. We can factor out a negative 1 from negative x plus 4. So let's keep everything else. Keep x plus 4 times x minus 4 in the numerator. We keep x plus 2 there. But negative x plus 4, I will factor out a negative 1. So it's negative 1 times, and now you can divide. To factor something out is like division. So you can divide by negative 1 here and divide by negative 1 there. Negative x divided by negative 1, it's positive x. Positive 4 divided by negative 1, that gives us a negative 4. See, after we factor out negative 1 from this part right here, we end up with exactly the same factor as the top, x minus 4, x minus 4. But there's going to be a negative 1 there. And I can move this negative 1 in the front, because this is like negative 1, negative of this, negative of x plus 2, and positive divided by negative, what gives a negative. So all you have to do is to move the minus sign and put in front of the entire fraction. The other way you could do is to distribute the minus to the bottom to get negative x minus 2. But usually we prefer this answer because we like plus better than minus. So I can write down the other answer here. The other way you can do is to, instead of move the minus in front of the whole fraction, you can do negative x minus 2. This is still correct. It's just we prefer this answer. It looks simpler with the minus and x plus 3 over x plus 2. But this is also correct. So as you can see, when we simplify rational expressions, just like we simplify fractions, we need to factor first, find the common factors, and cross them out. And make sure you don't cancel x and x if it's plus or minus the operation between them.